Mr. Smith from New Jersey for his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I, again, want to underscore how great it is to work with you. You know, they say bipartisanship is dead. It is not. We do work very closely on this commission, and there's a lot of that kind of cooperation going on throughout the Capitol, and it's just under-focused upon and under-heralded as we go on. So this is a great example on this commission especially, where we're all about doing the right thing on human rights and humanitarian issues. So good afternoon. Today we will hear from several witnesses who will describe the many human rights and humanitarian challenges Haiti faces today and how we can help. Haiti never seems to get a break. The country's struggle to overcome decades of dictatorship and transition to a modern democracy seems to be continually derailed by some catastrophe, whether it be a hurricane, earthquake, epidemic, or something else. Over the last 18 months, political instability and a severe economic crisis in Haiti has exacerbated its prolonged struggle with extreme poverty, malnutrition, and its vulnerability to natural disasters. All of these overstretch Haiti's capacity to meet the basic needs of its people and undermine its efforts to shore up institutions vital to the function of democracy, like a free and professional media, a strong and impartial judiciary, and the rule of law in general. Following the tragic earthquake in 2010, the country suffered a cholera epidemic that infected 665,000 people and killed 8,183 persons. I raised the issue of compensation and treatment for cholera victims on multiple occasions with the UN and, of course, with our own State Department. The lack of capacity and the lack of culture that respects human rights in the country's security forces has resulted in human rights abuses and makes the country vulnerable to traffickers and other criminals. I would note parenthetically that several years ago, working with Airline Ambassadors International in their effort to be eyes and ears, situationally aware when people are being trafficked, one of their flight attendants noticed that there were young children coming out of Haiti with an older guy, and it didn't look right. They went to law enforcement and they found out that it was a pedophile ring. They didn't get there in time to save about 60 kids who had been trafficked, but they did break up the ring and they got the ring leaders. Unfortunately, they never recovered all the children, but it was a very, very real effort. So, you know, those kids suffered. And I had in Trenton, in my district, for 30 of my 40 years in Congress, with a very large Haitian community, worked very closely with them all the time. And, you know, their love for their loved ones who are still there after everything Haiti goes through is just enormous. And so I would point out that Haiti's efforts to end trafficking and its help trafficking victims allowed the State Department, this is a good news story, to move Haiti from Tier 2 watch list to Tier 2. The country is still, though, however, a source and destination country for trafficking. Many ethnic Haitians, despite being born in the Dominican Republic, lack legal status in that country, and they are exploited in the Dominican Republic to act as agricultural laborers, particularly on sugar plantations. I also wish to underscore the need for a constructive development assistance. We will hear from Paloma Adams, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Inter-American Foundation, a U.S. government agency whose grassroots-led model, once shared with the sister agency, the Africa Development Foundation, offers an example of how development should be done. Providing seed money to community-based groups that match or exceed its investment, IAF is helping the Haitian people pull themselves out of poverty. It also sees beyond the capital of Port-au-Prince, investing in underserved communities which are too often neglected. The IAF is currently investing nearly $5 million in Haiti on various projects. We're calling for increased funding for IAF in addition to a transfer of funds from the USAID to IAF, as IAF, with its extremely low overhead and other economies of scale, is able to move more effectively to stretch the taxpayer dollar. Last year alone, the IAF received 55 proposals from Haiti, but was only able to fund 4 of those proposals. We believe that an additional transfer of $2 million to IAF would enable it to nearly triple the number of communities it reaches in Haiti. Again, Mr. Chairman, thank you for convening this important hearing, and I yield back.
Thank you, and we will see you in a little while. Take notes. All right. Again, thank you. I want to thank the witnesses for being here today. I appreciate all the work that you do, and I thank you for taking the time to share your expertise with us today. You know, this hearing builds on a previous hearing held by the Western Hemisphere Subcommittee of the Foreign Affairs Committee last December. If you have not already seen that hearing, I encourage you to watch it. The subcommittee's witnesses that day, including two highly respected Haitian human rights activists, provided a dire description of the prolonged political and human rights crisis confronting the country. 3 months later, we have not seen progress in prosecuting the rampant corruption that has robbed the Haitian people of billions of dollars of development resources, nor have we seen progress towards accountability for the grave human rights abuses, including the 2018 La Saline massacre and the gang attacks in Bel Air last November, or for that matter, the deaths of 42 police officers in 2019. Instead, in January, the country slid into rule by decree under President Moïse. This happened because of the utter failure of the Parliament and the political leaders across the spectrum to form a government or hold elections last fall. Open conflict recently broke out between the police and the military, a discredited institution that had been disbanded and should have stayed that way. Meanwhile, chronic poverty and high levels of food insecurity persist. Many people do not have easy access to electricity, water, sanitation, or health care. 2 children out of 10 do not attend primary school, and the literacy rate for those over 10 years of age is 61%. Altogether, what we have seen is a Haitian state that is failing to protect the human rights of its people across the board, civil and political, economic and social. So no one should be surprised that the Haitian people are angry and that they're demanding change. They deserve a better future. That is why we're holding a second hearing today, so soon after the December Foreign Affairs Subcommittee hearing. We are saying loud and clear that the Haitian people merit our attention and our help. And members of Congress are very willing to help. Many people here have a deep moral and political commitment to Haiti. For years, they have led efforts to support human rights and democracy and further the well-being of the Haitian people. There are bills that have been introduced in this Congress, like those of Congressman Hakeem Jeffries and Alcee Hastings. Last year, Haiti was the second largest recipient of U.S. aid in the hemisphere. Now, all of us welcomed the administration's decision to comply with a court order and extend temporary protected status for Haitians and others through January 4th, 2021. It should be extended further as a matter of policy. So there's no shortage of goodwill, but there is some frustration that after so much investment over decades, the situation is what it is today. The reality is that the U.S. Congress is not going to resolve the problems Haitians are facing. Past U.S. interventions, if I could be honest, in Haiti, have often made things worse. It is the Haitian people who must come together to define a path forward. But it is incumbent on us to help move things forward, and that is what we hope to do today. So we have 2 modest objectives. First is to ask what constructive steps members of Congress should take to help resolve the governance crisis, a necessary first step for everything else. To give just one example, it's hard to see how Haiti meets the conditions placed on economic support funds for this year without getting a government in place. You know, we've all heard the demands that President Moïse resign and the criticism of calls for dialogue. And I understand why these positions have traction. I am as appalled as anyone by the corruption, the blatant corruption and the violence and the human rights abuses that are going on. But what I don't see is how anyone navigates the current legal and political morass without some sort of dialogue. You know, shouldn't we be asking how to use all our available leverage to make sure that the outcome of dialogue addresses problems like corruption and grave human rights abuses? You know, what's the step-by-step that gets us to where we need to be? Our second objective today is to draw our attention to rights-based initiatives that are already helping to empower people and that offer models for effective investment at the community level, the very positive work that the Inter-American Foundation and Zianmi Lassant are doing. And I am personally very happy to highlight that. I'm a strong supporter of humanitarian assistance and an even stronger supporter of empowering people and building the productive capacity that makes it unnecessary. So let me close by thanking you once again for being here today. We appreciate you being here. And again, I look forward to your recommendations on how we can play a constructive role here. This is the Human Rights Commission. We're a little, our focus is a little different than kind of what may have been addressed in the Foreign Affairs Committee. But I think everything is interrelated. I think corruption is a human rights matter, I think, as well as attacks against individuals. So our panel today is George Foriol, retired in January 2020 from the National Endowment for Democracy, or he was the Vice President for Grants Operations and Evaluation. He currently teaches at Georgetown University's Democracy and Governance Graduate Program and is a Senior Associate at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Anthony Banbury joins IFAS as President and Chief Executive Officer on November 1st, 2018, after an extensive career in working for the United Nations and the United States government. His UN assignments included leading the operational response to the 2010 Haiti earthquake. Ellie Happel is the Haiti Project Director and a staff attorney with the Global Justice Clinic at New York University School of Law, where she is also an adjunct professor. She travels frequently to Haiti, and most recently in January. And I thank you all for being here. Mr. Foriol, we'll begin with you, and just make sure your microphone is on. Otherwise, we won't be able, there you go.
I think I've done that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to first thank the co-chairs, actually, of the commission and its members for the opportunity to testify today about Haiti. For those of us who follow Haitian politics and have done so over time, we very much appreciate the Commission's sort of timely interest, and particularly the focus on the next steps rather than sort of arguing or debating how we got here. I work from the general premise that preventing the current crisis from mutating into something even worse requires a concrete set of proposals framed by Haitians themselves, I think, as the chairman just suggested, and supported by the international community rather than the other way around. There are three realities that frame this thinking, or my thinking at least, about Haiti's problems, and it picks up a little bit on what you just said, sir. First, that despite 30-plus years of generous assistance from the international community of all kind, there really collectively is not all that much to show for it for all of this effort. Secondly, this sort of realism of disappointing outcomes of international community efforts has coexisted with a continuing pattern of poor governance performance on the part of Haitian leadership of all stripes since the late 1980s. The third reality, I think, for us should give us some hope, which is that it's centered around Haitian civil society. It's come a long way over the past 3 decades. It has provided some measure of accountability, some standards in an environment where there are very few institutional guardrails that actually work effectively. It addresses and has addressed issues including human rights, the rule of law, transparency, corruption, and often working with international partners, including those here today at this panel. In the current crisis, several coalitions of civil society, political party actors, some elements of the private sector have proposed a number of transitional frameworks to overcome the ongoing paralysis. These, I think, constitute serious reflections which are worth really taking note of. Obviously, they have not triggered satisfactory outcomes, but certainly I would think it would be important for us to provide further encouragements for these dialogues to continue. One of the proposals that I outline in my written statement, in fact, calls on Haitian civil society leadership to coalesce around a specific practical set of proposals needed to move Haiti forward, and also in some ways suggest how the United States can help in this process. This actually builds on a proposal from the December hearing on Haiti from Daniel Erickson of the Penn Biden Center here in Washington to create some sort of a, quote, short-term, bipartisan, bicameral working group of members of the U.S. Congress. And it would allow, in some ways, a mechanism for Haitian civil society with specific concrete proposal to actually have a pathway to the Congress and sort of develop this kind of mechanism moving forward. A second proposal suggests simply sidestepping some of the current political stalemate, and tackling priorities. The first one that I would put on the list is placing parliamentary elections back on track. The issue here is not whether you can have elections in 2020. Rather the issue is how credible can you have and what do you need to have to make those elections credible. Haiti's experience in this area, despite a lot of international support, has been relatively poor. A third proposal is to capitalize on the Petro-Caribbean investigations, which really have been, I think Haiti actually should be given some credit for going through the effort of investigating this Venezuelan program now discounted oil sales, whose rebates were supposed to be used for social programs, but instead the resources have disappeared. I think there's an opportunity to develop more sustainable mechanisms to address widespread public sector corruption, but this is going to require a lot of creativity on the part of the international community working with Haitian partners. The recent and imperfect experiences of the UN-backed International Commission in Guatemala, its close cousin in Honduras, the OAS-backed commission, provide some lessons, but they're really not easily transferable to the Haitian context. Another way might be to capitalize on Haiti's membership in the Caribbean community, in CARICOM, a constituency in some ways more committed to the rule of law, and develop some sort of a Caribbean-wide anti-corruption and transparency mechanism. A fourth proposal that I suggest in my written statement is to, in effect, provide a mechanism by which to actively engage the Haitian diaspora in addressing Haiti's national governance breakdown. This U.S.-based diaspora is increasingly engaged in our own domestic political environment, in business and education. They contact themselves directly, you as their constituents. I think a consortium of diaspora talent, particularly drawn from U.S. colleges and universities, can be teamed up with some sort of a counterpart mechanism in Haiti to work on priority issues. In fact, the exploration of such an effort is presently being undertaken by the Inter-American Dialogue here in Washington with partners in Haiti. Finally, my written statement references a fifth idea, namely the need to have a consensus prime minister in place. Since there's no parliament, as you said, to ratify the choice, the term consensus is obviously the key, and so far the process is obviously not only broken down, but seems to be, in fact, going nowhere fast. On Monday of this week, President Moïse announced his fifth prime minister selection since taking office in early 2017, Jude Joseph, who's currently in the cabinet. This is maybe a step in the right direction, but all indications are that this particular choice or appointment is not the result of political consultations. And I think there's, in some ways, already a built-in disappointment into this choice. Although clearly this is not something that's going to be determined or decided here in Washington, I only note this in closing to underscore that this matter has to be resolved satisfactorily and soon. Having an unelected parliament, later this spring there will be unelected mayors and local officials, so the situation can only get worse. This is why in my testimony and now in my summary of my testimony, I really emphasize the role that civil society can play and how this can be a mechanism to address some of Haiti's problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Banbury?
Thank you very much, Co-Chairman McGovern, and thank you and Co-Chairman Smith for your continued commitment to human rights broadly, and in particular in the case of Haiti. The International Foundation for Electoral Systems, IFES, first started working in Haiti in 1991, and we've been there continuously since 2008 with a one-year exception in 2012, and we're working there now on a 5-year program funded by USAID, working in close cooperation with the United States government, the Haitian government, and indeed civil society. I had the privilege of twice serving in Haiti before, once as a human rights officer in the joint UN-OAS Human Rights Mission, MICV, and was part of the group that got expelled from the country by General Raul Cedras back in 1993. And then later, as you referenced in your kind introduction of myself, immediately after the earthquake, I moved to Haiti to lead the UN operational response to that very tragic and heart-wrenching incident. Haiti, for those of us who have worked there, tends to grab a hold of you and it grabs a piece of your heart, and certainly a piece of my heart rests with the country and its long-suffering people. Chairman, members of this commission well understand that a stable and democratic Haiti reinforces our shared values and also serves our national interests, and you referred to that in your own opening remarks. A stable and democratic Haiti will help reduce transnational crime and illegal immigration, and conversely, an undemocratic Haiti will continue to impose a very heavy burden on U.S. taxpayers. The U.S. national security strategy's vision is of a, quote, world of strong, sovereign, and independent nations, each with its own cultures and dreams, thriving side by side in prosperity, freedom, and peace, end of quote. Continued engagement with and investment in Haiti, I believe, can make that vision a reality, but it will take a lot of work. Mr. Co-Chairman, I would like to share with you the 5 conditions that IFAS believes are necessary in order for credible elections in Haiti to take place. First, just as you alluded to in your remarks, the people of Haiti have to come together. The government must reach an agreement with a broad-based and representative opposition coalition on the organization of elections. There needs to be a political agreement on what those elections would look like. Without such an agreement, any attempt to hold elections will be met with strong opposition and mistrust from both political parties and the general public. Second, an updated voter list based on a more complete national civil registry is absolutely essential in order to avoid the disenfranchisement of a large number of Haitians. The current civil registry has not been updated since 2005, so you can imagine the degree of inaccuracy that exists. The government is currently trying to establish a new civil registry, but as of last month, only 1.6 million out of over 6 million voting-age citizens have been registered. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done to complete a civil registry on which a voter list is based. Third, an independent and empowered Provisional Elections Commission, the CEP, must be reestablished by the government through the appointment or reappointment of counselors, and it must be properly funded. Fourth, an electoral law or electoral decree must be adopted to determine ground rules for the elections. The OAS and IFAS provided technical advice on a new draft law to the Parliament, but the Parliament did not act on the law or the draft before its mandate expired. And lastly, effective security arrangements need to be in place for credible elections to take place. The Haitian National Police, I believe, are capable of providing the minimum security requirements if given adequate resources and support. IFAS welcomes, in fact, the appointment of the new Prime Minister, and we look forward to working with the new government as well as the U.S. government and other partners to help establish these 5 conditions for credible elections. Toward this end, we urge the Haitian government, in consultation with stakeholders from across the political spectrum, to as rapidly as possible reach the political agreement on the organization of elections that I referred to intensify civil registration efforts to ensure that the CEP receives an accurate and complete voter list, to appoint or reappoint CEP counselors and provide the CEP with necessary financial resources, and to provide the Haitian National Police with adequate resources, including financial, so they can carry out their security responsibilities. In order to achieve these objectives, continued active engagement by the U.S. administration and Congress is essential. The U.S. government is fortunate to be represented by such a capable ambassador in Port-au-Prince as Michel Sisson, whom I know from other incarnations. And Haiti is extremely fortunate to have so many strong allies and supporters in the U.S. Congress. It is easy to grow dispirited working on Haiti, but my request to members of this commission and to the U.S. Congress is please do not give up on Haiti. And obviously, Co-Chair, that's very much how you feel. Yesterday, the U.S. Aid Administrator, Mark Green, said when he appeared before the House Appropriations Subcommittee on State and Foreign Operations that it is essential to address the underlying causes of the dysfunction in Haiti's democracy and to work to promote a transparent, citizen responsive government that represents all segments of society. IFAS completely agrees with this and is committed to doing just that. IFAS and other non-governmental organizations will continue to do everything we can to promote electoral integrity and the consolidation of democracy in Haiti. Our mission and Haiti's democratic future are only achievable, though, with the continued and strong support of the United States Congress. And in terms, Co-Chair, of what the Congress can do, in addition to not giving up, I think is to make clear expectations on the steps for political transition to get Haiti back on a constitutional and democratic path and outside of or away from ruling by decree, and also whatever the Congress may think might be the conditions necessary for credible elections to ensure that they are met. And I know the U.S. government is working hard to try and achieve those objectives, but a clear statement by the Congress in support of that effort, I think, would be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Happel, welcome.
Thank you. Chairman McGovern, Chairman Smith, and other distinguished members of the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission. I would like to thank all of you for the opportunity to speak about the human rights situation in Haiti today. A sustainable path forward must be determined by Haitian people. As Congress aims to support Haiti to address the short-term and long-standing causes of its political, economic, and social challenges, the international community must create space for Haitian self-determination. In the past 2 years, in response to detailed evidence of misappropriation of funds and corruption, Haitians have channeled calls for change into collective action, organizing massive nationwide protests to demand government accountability. The popular slogan, Kote Kobla, where is the money, and the demand for new leadership not stained by corruption has been met time and again with repression and with violence. The worsening insecurity this past weekend, Les Nouvellistes, Haiti's leading newspaper, reported more than 18 people killed by gun violence and multiple incidents of kidnapping, is a symptom of an utter lack of accountability. Distinguished members, I will focus my comments today on 3 areas: elections, insecurity and impunity, corruption and impunity. I end with a recommended path forward. As of January 2020, President Moïse rules by decree. Parliamentary elections scheduled for October of 2019 were postponed indefinitely. In the current climate, elections are not the immediate next step in addressing Haiti's political crisis. Rushing into elections risks further eroding Haitians' faith and participation in the vote. The civil registry in Haiti, as mentioned by the panelists today, which is the basis for the vote, has excluded the poorest and most marginalized. Today, Haitians face the prospect of being asked to hand over their sensitive biometric data to a government that has lost its legitimacy. Haitian organizations and journalists have expressed concerns that the $27 million contract to create an entirely new database of biometric data is a step backwards. They estimate it will take at least another year to register Haitian citizens. Further, voters are rightly suspicious of this new system. In addition, Haiti has neither an electoral law nor an electoral budget. However, to achieve the goal of resolving the political crisis, elections, the act of voting, must be seen as an exercise of democracy. The elections of 2015 were marred by fraud and violence, with approximately 2/3 of voting centers affected. The violence in Haiti today is much worse. The proliferation of gangs and the rise of the newly reconstituted Haitian army suggests that if elections are held under current conditions, violence would deter many from voting. The U.S. and other international actors have a recent history of intervening in Haitian elections and election outcomes. Haitians view this intervention as improper. In 2010, at the urging of the Organization of American States and the State Department, President Martelly was placed into the second round runoff despite coming in 3rd, not 2nd, in the first round. Many Haitians saw President Martelly's subsequent victory as tainted. Following the violence and fraud in the 2010 and 2015 elections, a majority of Haitian candidates and political parties called for a new vote. The State Department and the OAS, however, encouraged all actors to accept the results. Haitians understood this as a preference for stability over democracy. Although stability has a positive connotation, in the case of Haiti, we must ask ourselves, stabilizing what? Insecurity and impunity. Gang violence, kidnapping, and government-linked massacres are creating a climate of widespread insecurity and fear. Le Nouveliste wrote that 1/3 of Port-au-Prince is under control of gangs. These gangs operate without consequence at the apparent protection of the executive. The government of Haiti has been implicated in violence and acts of repression of those calling for accountability. The areas that have been sites of massacres, incidents of killing of multiple defenseless victims, have two things in common. They are poor and they are places of frequent anti-government protest. In November 2018, as you referenced, a documented 71 people were brutally killed and dismembered in the poor neighborhood of La Saline. 1 year and 56 deaths by massacre later, 24 people were murdered in the neighborhood of Bel Air in November of 2019. The United Nations recently released a report on the Bel Air attacks, noting evidence of collusion between criminal gangs and political actors. The UN concluded that the architect of the La Saline and Bel Air massacres, Jimmy Cerezier, known as Barbecue, has not faced charges. The UN also recognized that impunity is enabling recurrent violence in Haiti. Corruption. President Moïse's administration has obstructed investigations into Petrocaribe and failed to bring anyone implicated to justice. The president's response undermines accountability efforts of state institutions and contributes to impunity. The economy of Haiti has taken a massive blow. There has been a 60% depreciation in the national currency over the past 2 years, and inflation hit 20% at the end of 2019. The UN estimates that as of this month, March 2020, 4.2 million Haitian people face food insecurity, 1.2 million at emergency levels. The number of families limiting themselves to one hot meal a day, if that, is growing. Recommendations for Congress. The international community, led by the United States government, must support Haitian demands. One role U.S. actors can play is to promote a range of Haitian actors to come to the table. Dialogue will be most productive when it includes non-political actors in Haiti. The Moïse government is backed by the Trump administration, which has been only mildly critical of corruption and accountability concerns. Congress can and should hold the State Department and other U.S. institutions to account, to have structural concerns about accountability and corruption at the forefront of all discussions with the Haitian government. The Haiti Reconstruction bill provides guidance. Among other things, the bill requires the Secretary of State to submit reports on corruption, including an investigation of any U.S. ties, and post-natural disaster aid to Congress. In addition, Congress should consider investigating the movement of arms into Haiti and the role, if any, of U.S. manufacturers and U.S. individuals. Despite a U.S. arms embargo, there are an estimated 500,000 illegal arms circulating in Haiti. Getting guns off the streets should be a priority of all actors who have played a role in making them accessible. Separately, and as the chairman stated, Congress should ensure the continued designation of Haiti for temporary protected status. Haiti remains unable to safely repatriate its citizens and thus qualifies for TPS. Last is the call for transition, which has been referenced. A transitional government is likely the next step in Haiti, even if President Moïse finishes his term. Ms. Emmanuelle Douillon of Nous Pas Dormi explained in her December testimony that President Moïse has alienated the population and that dialogue or elections under his leadership are destined to fail. She continued, Haitian society is calling for an inclusive national conference, which would include all sectors of society and be facilitated by the transitional government. This is not a political crisis between those who won the last election and those who did not. This crisis goes beyond political opposition. The demand of the petro-challengers and the population is for systemic change dialogues. Congress has an essential role to play. Congress and the State Department must engage in conversation with Haitian civil society organizations to understand their demands. Although the path forward that begins to repair the social contract between the state and its people may be slow, it is in the long-term interest of all actors. Slow, even painful progress is better than the status quo, which the United States government and other international actors must cease to perpetuate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all of you for your excellent testimony. So I think that I think, Ms. Bamber, I think you raised the issue about that we shouldn't despair so much that we throw up our arms and kind of walk away from Haiti. I think I may be putting words in your mouth, but basically that's what you kind of said, and I get that. I feel very strongly about that too. I mean, I've been to Haiti 3 times. My first visit was in the immediate aftermath of the earthquake, and I went with a constituent of mine whose daughter was lost in the Hotel Montana, but that constituent ended up, pursuing his daughter's dream for building an orphanage in Haiti, build one in Grand Guave, up to the standards of what a building should be to survive an earthquake. And I've been down there a couple of times since then. And, one of his frustrations is somebody who is not Haitian, but who has watched, what has happened in Haiti in the aftermath of the earthquake. He said there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. For example, if you're going to build new buildings, you ought to build them in a way that could withstand future earthquakes. And yet, it seems that the Haitian, this was his opinion, is that in so many instances, what was rebuilt was really, what was there was substandard, and what was rebuilt was substandard. And so at the end of the day, not a lot has changed, but money has been spent. And I think, for a lot of people in Congress, especially with the whole world around us seeming to be in disarray, sometimes our jobs are like, drinking water from a fire hose. I mean, it's just so much stuff that unless things are presented to us in what I would call a kind of a C-spot run type of presentation, people, will express their sympathy and they'll express their, concern, but then nothing much changes. And so when we talk about, like, bringing non-political actors together, when we talk about trying to create consensus in Haiti, given the current reality, given the current president, given, the political chaos that exists, what does that really mean and how do we do it? I mean, is it convening people here in Washington? Is it convening people, in Haiti? Is it, I mean, who are those actors that need to be brought to the table to actually help build that consensus? Because I think, I mean, well, I'm rambling here, but I'm just trying to, I want to end this hearing with some assignments. Like, I mean, this is, we ought to do another hearing, and these are the people we ought to call. Mr. Furiel, you talked about corruption. I've done a lot of work on anti-corruption efforts in Guatemala and Honduras. Have lots of experience with CICIG and Moxie, and I think both of them were incredibly positive, initiatives to combat corruption. The problem is they were too good at combating corruption, so the governments threw them out. And so, there are obviously lessons to be learned there. But, I mean, what specifically, can we do on that regard as well? I mean, President Moise has dismissed the heads of the anti-corruption and anti-money laundering units. I mean, do you see a role for Congress in responding to that? I mean, what can we do? Where's our leverage? And we talked about the need for there to be elections. Mr. Bembury, I mean, you talked about the lack of a civil registry. We need to, we need to get a clean and up-to-date registry, but we also need to be sensitive to the suspicion of government getting too much personal information on individuals. How do we thread that needle? Because one is you need an accurate, up-to-date voting list, but on the other hand, the concerns that average Haitians have about a government getting too much information, that's real, especially given, the current government. So I know I'm just throwing these out here, but I'm just looking for your input on how we kind of narrow this down and say, you know what, we need you to do a letter to this person, we need you to do a hearing on this. we need you to ask the Foreign Affairs Committee to do X, Y, or Z, or, so help me so I can walk away from here with, some very, very specific assignments. Anyone can go, I addressed you all, so you're all, everyone could,
I mean, I think
Mr.
on
Furrow.
on the issue of,
make sure your mic's on too. Yeah.
yeah, on the issue of dialogues and sort of consensus groups in Haiti, I think they exist, and they've actually generated a fair amount of activity, and particularly in the last 6 months. In the fall, there was, I think, actually a real momentum that developed across, really a cross-section of political society, civil society, if you will, that also included political party participation to some degree, and some attempt to actually reach out to the National Palace, to Moïse and the government. None of this really has worked, I think, in part, and I'm speculating, in part because I think the government of Haiti realizes that the international community, if given a choice between uncertainty and somehow breaking the sense of constitutional order in Haiti, is going to back up the president all the way to the end. Therefore, there's really no motive on his part or interest to actually participate in a dialogue which may, to some degree, either shorten his presidency or force him into a political environment which he may not like.
So how do we, yeah,
My sense, however, is since these groups already exist, I would actually, that's why I suggest to actually formalize a request to them to actually come up with a consensus version of these various groups into a series of steps that they think is going to push the situation out of the current stalemate and actually deliver this back here to the United States Congress.
and so who do we make that request to?
There are several groups. They have, maybe you, go ahead. Oh, no, please. There's several groups. I will compliment after. There's several groups, some of them I mentioned in my
Yeah, okay,
testimony.
right.
There's the Passerelle, there is the group that actually participated in something called the Marriott Hotel, in effect. Conventional, these all have names. We can
Right.
certainly be happy to provide those to you. But I think these groups ultimately are serious, have a broad consensus among them, have actually tried to reach out to the government. The issue here, however, is there needs a little extra leverage, and that leverage, I think, can come a little bit from the United States Congress.
Ms. Heppel?
Yes, so I agree with those comments. And a couple things to emphasize. So first, the perception of support from the U.S. government, from the OAS, and from other foreign governments of President Moïse is damaging in Haiti. And people have this idea, referred to earlier, that absent U.S. support, this president would no longer be in power. And so that there is opportunity, thus, for both the State Department to change its policy. And I think a specific role that Congress can play is to try to hold the State Department to account as they continue to send high-level diplomats to meet with President Moïse and not to meet with other actors, including civil society actors.
So just for my clarification, because you know more about what's happening in Haiti than I do. So the implication of your statement is that we have high-level officials that meet with President Moïse but do not meet with other members of civil society, including opposition leaders or people who are trying to find a way out of this current situation.
Yes,
Right? Yeah, okay.
and then in addition, the current call for dialogue is a very soft call when we consider the grave human rights violations and the worsening economy under President Moïse's administration. And thus, so first, hold the State Department to account, but second, Congress could in fact generate counter facts or counter information or generate their own information by meeting with civil society actors. I think the people best placed to determine who those civil society actors are Haitian leaders, and I imagine that those of us here, but also importantly people in the diaspora, could generate a list of leading civil society organizations across many sectors, including farmers' organizations, women's rights organizations, just to generate good facts about what is happening in Haiti today. And then the other point is so President Moïse, he by decree appointed a prime minister, and this is quite concerning in the sense that he had been encouraged, I believe, by foreign actors as well, I know, by actors in Haiti, by political actors in Haiti, to have a conversation and to realize a negotiation and to have a prime minister of consensus, which again was referred to earlier. Instead, he unilaterally appointed an individual, and there is real discontent at what seems to be just his great aggrandized sense of impunity, that he in fact can take any action unilaterally without being held to account. And thus it will be interesting again to see what sort of comments the State Department provide in response to the appointment of this new prime minister. But it is concerning, and in a climate like the one that President Moise has created, it is very difficult for other actors to want to come to the table. And that's a specific role that Congress could play.
Mr. Mayberry?
Thank you, Co-Chair. I think it's important for the expectations of the U.S. Congress to be clear to the political actors in Haiti, including an expectation that there will be a restoration of constitutional order and democratic elections will be held. I agree very much with what Ms. Happel said earlier, that a rush to elections can be quite damaging, in fact, and the goal is not to have elections, and the goal isn't even really to have a democratically elected government. And I think that's perhaps one of the mistakes that the international community, very much the United Nations, has made in the past, such a focus on a democratic process that puts in place a democratically elected government without then paying nearly adequate attention to what that government does in terms of meeting the needs and aspirations of the people, a government that delivers for its constituents. I would be very hesitant to suggest that the Congress contemplate aid linkages to visa regimes for political leaders, but I wouldn't exclude that Congress would consider such measures in order to generate leverage over
We have the global Magnitsky Act, which we could use to deny people the ability to travel here or hide their money in our banks if they're guilty of corruption or human rights violations. We don't always, I don't think we use it enough with people who are guilty of corruption and guilty of human rights violations. But that is a concrete response from Congress can be to make sure that there are certain people that are on that list. And that is something we can lobby the State Department and the Department of Treasury on. If there were a list of, for lack of a better phrase, bad guys that really, have been such bad players that, they deserve to be called out because there's no accountability in Haiti for their actions.
And in the case of Haiti, as opposed to some countries that perhaps have much less of a tradition where their elite spend their time and money in the U.S., in the case of Haiti, I think that could be quite effective
Right.
as a tool. I also do support very much the idea of the creation of some type of anti-corruption body, whether it's focused just on Haiti or a sub-regional one, but that can be very effective, as we've seen in other country contexts. And there may be political opposition to it, but nonetheless, one of the great enormous problems that has existed in Haiti over the decades is how the corrupt economic and political elite cohabitate in a very convenient way, and the masses of the population continue to suffer deplorably. So to get that government that delivers for the people, there needs to be accountability for the actors who prevent that from happening. And so an anti-corruption body could be very helpful in that regard, I think.
No, I appreciate that. And before, I just would say, I'm the author of the Magnitsky Act, and I'm a co-author along with Congressman Smith of the Global Magnitsky Act. But the whole point of that act was that, though I think the one thing that became clear is when you have corrupt individuals or people who regularly abuse the human rights of their citizenry, and they do it all the time, and there's no accountability, they continue to do it. There's no incentive not to continue to do it. There's no incentive to continue to rob your own people, right? And so there needs to be a check. Mr. Furiel?
Just to comment on the corruption issue, I think the United Nations actually missed an opportunity as it declined in terms of its actual presence in Haiti to actually translate that into something similar to what happened in Guatemala in terms of the peace process. So that opportunity is now gone and behind us. The OAS and the UN, in some ways, interestingly enough, I don't think have that much credibility right now in Haiti as negotiating parties for the dialogue. That's why I'm actually kind of looking at the role that CARICOM, the Caribbean community, can play. Right now, until now actually, since the recent CARICOM meeting, they basically were told by the Haitian government to stay away. There is a mission which is now underway that will be in Haiti shortly. And I sort of looking at that as a new actor with potentially greater credibility to play some role, mediating role within the Haitian political community. There are close connections there. And CARICOM has an interest in this issue, which is everything that goes back in Haiti ultimately has an impact directly on the rest of the region. So that's another actor which I would, I think, try to bring into a discussion about a regional anti-corruption and transparency mechanism.
No, I think you may have mentioned this in your testimony, for us to form a working group on Haiti within the U.S. Congress of interested people, maybe not just people on the Foreign Affairs Committee, but maybe people on various committees who who represent a large number of Haitians in their districts, or people who are just interested in human rights or ending corruption. You know, I think that's actually a good idea, and actually would probably be the mechanism in which you might invite,
That's right.
you know, the non-political players, you know, to Washington, or to meet and to try to figure out, you know, some concrete steps to move Haiti forward and things in ways that we could be helpful. Do you all think that's I mean, you know, unfortunately for this hearing, the coronavirus briefing with Vice President Pence is going on, and I think I've heard the briefing 10 times already, but I think many of my colleagues who I think were supposed to be here are there, but they're very interested in this, and again, you know, trying to figure out how can we play a constructive, how can we be helpful other than just to say, oh, there's corruption in Haiti, there's an impunity problem in Haiti, there's violence in Haiti, there's lack of governance in Haiti, you know, let's you know, that's just wrong. I mean, I think people are looking for concrete things to do, and maybe my Congressman Levin from Michigan, I think might be somebody who might be very interested in doing that. We ought to be talking about, you know, maybe a delegation going down to Haiti and meeting firsthand with a number of players, including the government, but you know, a lot of these other people who don't always get visited, but nonetheless represent, you know, a great deal of what public opinion is down there. You know, we talked about the La Saline massacre and other grave human rights abuses. Ms. Happel, what options do you see for pursuing accountability in these cases? Push your mic, yeah.
So first is to encourage the government of Haiti to, in fact, bring these people to justice. And, you know, that one thing that is in my written statement, but is not, I didn't have time to include, is the ways in which President Moïse has manipulated the judiciary. The fact that he's fired people in positions who express opinions that he does not share. And there is strong evidence of the implication of government officials in a number of the massacres, and just a total lack of action. I mean, this is a sort of non-answer in the sense, what should Congress do on this point? You know, Congress is in a hard position in the sense that intervention is not positive in Haiti, and I think, you know, both the UN lacks legitimacy, the OAS lacks legitimacy, the U.S. State Department lacks legitimacy because of a history of, as you said, interventions that have caused problematic outcomes, to put it diplomatically. But it would be, I mean, again, Congress should encourage the State Department to use their powers to put more pressure on the government to hold these individuals to account.
Yeah, okay.
And just to finish, you know, there is no sign that insecurity in Haiti is going to decrease until perpetrators are held to account. And thus, if President Moïse continues to not address, or just to to let impunity reign, it is very hard to imagine progress on the question of both state-sponsored violence, but also just widespread fear.
Mr. Manbury.
If I can just add quickly one point on that, Co-Chairman. The U.S. Foreign aid infrastructure tends to be somewhat siloed. So issues that in real life are inextricably linked, such as in Haiti, rule of law, security, corruption, and democracy, there tends to be a bit of a stovepiped approach, and individual aid budgets or line items from the aid budget, they'll go fund an anti-corruption project over there and a rule of law project over there and elections or democracy project over there. And unfortunately, many of the government officials in Haiti know how to play this game very well and sing various tunes and manipulate everyone and obfuscate. And so it's when organizations that see these this interconnectedness seek to try and approach these problems in an interconnected way, it's a bit hard. So trying to encourage, and I'm sure Administrator Green would agree with this. Well, I can't speak for Administrator Green. I would imagine that an aid professional would agree with this approach, that these challenges need to be looked at in an integrated and holistic manner, and aid programming should be encouraged to approach them in that manner.
No, I 1,000% agree with you just said. I mean, there are some good projects that USAID and others support in Haiti, but what we haven't done is connect all the dots, and we do not have a holistic policy in terms of dealing with Haiti. I mean, this is nothing new, unfortunately, and I could not articulate for you right now what our policy is, other than we support human rights and we support the things we always say, but in concrete terms, I couldn't tell you how we're going to do all that, how we're doing all that stuff, and I think it goes back to this idea of maybe the time has come to I think what we need is maybe a working group within Congress that will in addition to our other responsibilities, focus more carefully on Haiti. I mean, I co-chair the Executive Congressional Commission on China, along with Mr. Smith. I mean, and it's helpful to have a commission like that because, we meet regularly on human rights, matters related to human rights in China, and and it's a place for us to talk about legislation. It's a place for us to talk about, how we approach certain issues. But without that forum, unless somebody came up to us and said China, we probably wouldn't be thinking about China as much. This is the Human Rights Commission, where we focus regularly on human rights. The Foreign Affairs Committee does a lot of things. They do some human rights work as well, but they've got 1,000 other things they're dealing with. But we come together regularly to focus in on issues of human rights all over the world. So maybe it might be, I will talk to some of my colleagues who were supposed to be here, who I think might be interested in kind of putting something like that together. And then maybe we can work with you and figure out who the groups are and who the individuals are that we ought to bring together. And the other thing is we ought to also be thinking of, in the short term, to make it clear that human rights and anti-corruption are a priority. We ought to be thinking about individuals who ought to be placed on a global Magnitsky list, because there ought to be a consequence for some of these people who are guilty of these things. I want to say that the Haitian embassy here in Washington has submitted a letter in response to this hearing, which we will make part of the record. Well, we have a couple of other panels here. I don't want to keep you, but I'm going to give you any other thing we need to. Anything else you want to add for the record of things that we need to do? And again, I appreciate your willingness to work with us in the weeks ahead to try to figure out how we could be more effective. But anything else for the record that you want to add?
I would just add a footnote, which I mentioned in my introductory comments.
Is your mic on? Just make, yeah.
Yes. which is, as this group in the Congress coalesces and comes together, to think particularly also of the Haitian diaspora, which I think
Right.
has a role to play in all of this, because they are important actors, and they have themselves, in some ways, a network that ultimately can what's the word, feed into this dialogue in Haiti itself.
I think that's an important point. Mr. Banbury?
Again, thank you. I would just very much endorse the idea of establishing a congressional working group on Haiti, and then perhaps early on, if it were to be established after its establishment, going to Haiti and hearing from people on the ground and getting advice from experts on who to meet with, because by a congressional working group giving various members of civil society or certain political opposition groups a voice, that gives them a voice in their society more broadly, and it gives them leverage to participate more effectively in the political discourse in their country. And the more that Congress pays more attention it pays to this issue, particularly in this period of political uncertainty about what's the timeline, what's the path to restore constitutional order. I think it's a particularly volatile time, and so a working group of Congress could be especially effective during this time.
Ms. Happel?
Yes, thank you. My only additional comment is to think long-term.
Right.
And too often, actions taken by the U.S. government and other actors in Haiti have led to some short-term benefit that, in fact, over the years, has propelled us to where Haiti is today. And, you know, Haiti is not ungovernable. Haiti is the result of interventions. It is the result of, yes, mismanagement and impunity that has happened in its aftermath. And thus I share the enthusiasm for Congress to create a working group, and I encourage those members of the working group to both be in close contact with people who are in Haiti, who come from all different sectors, and to operate with a sort of patience that is not generally celebrated in anywhere, really,
Right.
but specifically in politics.
Well, I thank you very much. You know, I also think it's important, you know, when members of Congress visit anywhere, that they make sure that they are connected with the right people, because you can go to Haiti and you can see one thing and miss what the reality is. You know, I mentioned I had gone there right after the earthquake, where my constituent's daughter perished at the Hotel Montana. I went back a couple years later when the Hotel Montana had been rebuilt, and people were back at the hotel, and tourists from all over the place were there, and I remember somebody saying to me, you know, I mean, you know, look at how beautiful everything is, and sure enough, when you look at Haiti from where the Hotel Montana is, you don't see, you know, the neighborhoods, you don't see the suffering, you see the ocean, and you just see this panorama out there that, but if you don't go down into the communities, you can miss the reality. And you know, members of Congress are not necessarily immune to that as well. So it's important that we, you know, establish a good relationship with, you know, the various non-political players, you know, to make sure that when we go, that we're actually seeing the reality, not just the nice picture. So I thank you very much for being here and for your patience. And again, I'm sorry that the briefing conflicted, but that's an important issue too. So thank you. I'm now happy to call Paloma Adams Allen, who joined the Inter-American Foundation in April 2017 as President and Chief Executive Officer. Previously, she served as Deputy Assistant Administrator for the United States Agency for International Development's Latin America and Caribbean Bureau. She's also spent a decade at the Organization of American States. And thank you for being here, and just make sure your microphone's on when you. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead. Yep.
Co-chairs and distinguished committee members, thank you for calling this hearing. I'm honored to share the Inter-American Foundation's work in Haiti and have submitted full written testimony for the record.
Without objection, it will be entered into the record.
Thank you. Today's hearing is indeed timely. The IF remains concerned about the rise in interpersonal violence and resurgent political instability in Haiti, which has resulted in the tragic death of a grantee partner and a former local staffer. And yet, we remain hopeful because our Haitian partners have continued to deliver on the promise of peace, prosperity, and democratic governance in underserved and under-resourced communities in Haiti. By engaging these communities directly in strengthening civil society, bolstering economic and environmental resilience, and promoting social inclusion, our local partners are laying the groundwork for Haitians to defend and embody their rights as citizens. Visionaries in Congress founded the Inter-American Foundation in 1969 to propel the self-help efforts of the people of Latin America and the Caribbean. Over the past 50 years, we've honed a bottom-up development model that puts people at the center, promoting human dignity and project sustainability. Today, the IF's active portfolio includes over 300 projects in 24 countries. Our community-focused investments advance U.S. foreign policy and complement the work of other U.S. government agencies. We've learned over the decades that nothing we do will be sustainable if the people and communities most impacted by extreme poverty, violence, disease, and natural or man-made disasters don't value and ultimately own that effort. Therefore, the IF's approach in Haiti starts with listening to their ideas and their concerns. We recognize their potential as leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators, and we trust that they know best the opportunities in their communities. We respond to their priorities by providing modest amounts of financial and technical support. Since 1975, the IF has awarded 179 grants valued at $24 million to local organizations, and many have remained active. To facilitate broad civic engagement in our work, the IF exclusively partners with Haitian civil society. We prioritize community-based groups representative of and accountable to their members. This ensures that all IF-funded projects in Haiti are designed, supported, and led by historically underserved groups, including women and youth. We avoid arm's-length programming by engaging and funding Haitian organizations directly. We've learned that to truly surface Haitian solutions and incent local ownership, we have to trust in their knowledge, invest in building their capacity, be flexible and patient in our approach, but also hold them accountable for results. Our investments are not charity. Our grantee partners are required to match our funding by mobilizing their own, and they do. Currently, our $5 million grant portfolio is matched by $3.7 million in counterpart commitments mobilized by local partners, some from the diaspora community. Because the demand for IF support far exceeds available funding, we work with our grantees to unlock additional resources needed to achieve scale and long-term sustainability through partnerships with local governments, the local private sector, and the Haitian diaspora. In Haiti, the IF and local grantee partners have helped strengthen communities' resilience to the kind of instability we're witnessing today by applying several time-tested approaches that could be useful for other donors. First, our Haitian partners design holistic projects that address the multidimensional nature of extreme poverty and the absence of basic state presence and services. For instance, OPLA, a farmer association in Haiti's Southeast Department, is increasing incomes, mitigating food insecurity, and promoting environmental conservation from several angles. Its members are building community infrastructure, training community members in veterinary services, confronting agricultural costs, and supporting subsistence gardening. Second, our local partners recognize that it's crucial to address Haitians' basic needs before tackling larger societal concerns. Therefore, Women Decide, a grassroots organization in Jacmel, addresses gender-based violence by first providing women access to economic resources so they can rapidly leave the abusive situation and secure food, shelter, and other services. In tandem, the group works with women and men in communities to build awareness about gender-based violence. Similarly, a local organization engaging 12 community-based organizations in efforts to end the practice of Restavek alleviates the economic pressures that drive parents to send their children to live and work for other families as domestics by helping these families raise goats, ensuring them a steady source of income and nutrition. Third, to spur economic activity in under-resourced communities, 71% of the IF grantee partners set up community-managed financial inclusion mechanisms. For instance, a women's group operating a now successful bakery in Camp Louis in the north of Haiti set up a savings and loan association to pool their resources and deploy microloans for other women in the community. The IF then works with these groups to apply appropriate credit regulations. Fourth, the IF mainstreams environmental and disaster resilience across our Haiti portfolio. Thus, the majority of our local partners, like those in the Central Artibonite Department, are involving communities in planting trees, creating live barriers to protect against flooding, and training farmers in sustainable agricultural techniques. These investments in environmental resilience help communities to recover faster and position IF grantee organizations to take the lead in responding to natural disasters. Following Hurricane Matthew in 2016, for instance, grantee organizations located in hard-hit and hard-to-reach areas worked with us to quickly repurpose their grants so they could repair damaged buildings, supply potable water and food, and replace livestock. Fifth, the IF encourages grantee partners to work with, not around, local governments or the private sector. In our experience, engaged communities and effective civil society organizations are some of the strongest accountability mechanisms on weak governance. Grantee partners like the Cholera Center for Culture and Development in the Northeast are directly engaging local officials and opening new spaces for dialogue with citizens. Similarly, in Port-au-Prince, our work with Peace Courtyard engages local businesses in peace-building dialogue with neighborhood youth, as well as in the provision of mentorship, training, and job opportunities. In conclusion, taken together, the work of the IF's diverse Haitian partners has created a network of effective and resilient grassroots organizations necessarily focused on rights-based community development. While political administrations have come and gone, the Haitian people and their organizations remain. By supporting their self-help efforts, we reinforce their agency, their dignity, and self-conception as bearers of human rights. Thank you, and thank you for your focus on learning what works.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your incredible work that you do. Let me ask you, is IAF able to meet the existing demands in support of Haiti?
No, we're not in Haiti. To date, in our current proposal pipeline, we have 55 proposals sitting there. These are from communities who have indicated that they would step up and match us in terms of resources. These are communities that are looking for ways to navigate the current instability. Last year, we were able to fund 4. We're planning to at least double that this year with a little additional funding. But no, we're not able to meet it on our own.
But but could your work be further scaled up? I mean, if you had
Yes.
additional resources?
Absolutely.
What would you need? How can we be helpful to?
We generally don't tell Congress how much funding to give us. We can give you a sense of the demand.
Yeah, well, obviously the demand
and
is much greater than.
And it's far exceeds what we could fund at this point. If we wanted to fund, say, 30 of those were viable, we still have to assess viability and make sure that these would be good partners. Even if 30 of those were viable, we would not be able to fund more than 8 of them.
Well, let me ask a different question here. From your experience, what more could be done, or how best could we support greater involvement by the Haitian diaspora?
I think we have a couple models in which we work with the diaspora, and Congress could potentially be helpful with those. The primary models are working with them to mobilize their interest and particularly their desire to invest in communities. And what we've done in Haiti is support community foundations that are similar to the IF in terms of they're based in communities and they mobilize community assets and provide sub-grants to grassroots organizations. Those could be great models for the diaspora to invest in. Diaspora could be parts of those organizations. They could actually help stand up similar community foundations in Haiti. So we've seen that as one way to channel diaspora interest and resources directly to the communities that they're interested in.
So, I mean, Haiti is a very complicated place. There's lots of reasons for outside organizations to not want to invest or get involved. everything from corruption to violence, to a whole bunch of stuff. But IAF is able to operate and work in these very complex and uncertain situations. What is it about your approach and methodologies that makes that possible? And I say that because, I go back to the story that I was talking about, my constituent whose daughter was killed in the earthquake, and they built an orphanage, and talking to a number of those involved with trying to get supplies to the orphanage, the building materials, just getting the permits and stuff. People, it wasn't, let's put it this way, there had to be a lot of behind-the-scenes maneuvering and some people even being paid off in order to be able to get anything done. And, and anybody who just thought that doing something good or supporting something good would be easy, would be discouraged from doing that because it's very, very complicated.
We've developed a distinct model that I think and we believe puts the responsibility for success with those communities that are most impacted. So by responding directly to their ideas, we don't design projects, we don't go in with an idea and tell them what they need to do. They present their ideas to us. They can present their ideas to us in a 2-page proposal in Creole, right? So we've set up an organization that is created really to reach the grassroots and to encourage them to reach out to us. And so first we're responsive to their ideas, and we also hold them accountable for those ideas. So we insist that they design their projects, that they manage those projects, that they invest and work alongside us in strengthening their own organizations, and that they are co-investors. We don't fund any organization that can't mobilize some resources. It does not have to be a one-to-one match, but they do have to mobilize some resources, cash and in kind, to co-invest in their idea and to strengthen their organization. Otherwise, it's simply aid.
Right.
And so that's a crucial part of our model. And we have walked away from compelling communities and organizations because they can't do that, and that's crucial to the model.
And do you have any figures on your success rates in terms of funding a community-based idea and having it succeed versus having it not succeed?
I don't have specific to Haiti. We have done our own ex-post assessments across Latin America and the Caribbean, and our model is, our calculation is, does the organization still exist 5 to 10 years out without our funding?
Right.
And across Latin America and the Caribbean, on average, 80% of the organizations
That's
we've
incredible.
funded, and we've funded over 5,000 organizations in the 50 years we've been around, 80% of them still are in existence and doing that work or have expanded their work in 5 to 10 years. For us, that's success.
Yeah, that's a good number. And I really appreciate your testimony here today because, you're talking about some good things that are happening in Haiti. People-based, community-based ideas that are being supported that are beneficial to the people in Haiti.
Yep.
And I think one of the problems when we talk about Haiti is that we hear so much of the bad things that are going on and the things that are very discouraging that, you forget that there are some very positive things going on, that people are actually, developing strategies and ideas that are very promising for their communities. And so I think if we can get this working group together, that I think, I think one of the functions should be to highlight some of the positive things that are happening.
Absolutely.
I have a friend of mine who's a wonderful chef, this guy named Jose Andres, and he's in love with the people of Haiti, and he gets very, very upset when conversations are only one-sided. These are all the bad things that are happening, right? And you ignore what's good. And we helped premiere one of his. He did a film for PBS about the different foods of Haiti. The different tastes of Haiti, and he went around to different parts of Haiti and tried local cuisine, and said, people need to support this. And when you visit Haiti, don't just stay at. I don't want to pick on the Hotel Montana, but I'm just saying, just don't stay at this one resort. Understand that there is this incredible country here, with incredible people, and with incredible food, incredible culture, incredible music. And, you know, you need to, so I think part of what we might be able to do is, again, highlight some of the success stories that IF has had.
That would be fantastic, because we see, when we go to Haiti, we don't see a compilation of challenges, at least with the people we're meeting with. It's a difficult country to work in,
Right.
but the people are committed, they have fire in the belly, they want to manage their own programs, their own enterprises, and they want someone to trust them, and they particularly want us to trust them and invest in them, and not simply bring a pre-designed
And how many
program to
projects
them.
do you have in Haiti?
We currently have 17 active projects in Haiti. It's a small portfolio. It's all over the country because it's responsive, so it's wherever the demand comes from and where we think we have a good partner and they can mobilize resources. We only have one project actually in the urban parts of Haiti, in Port-au-Prince.
And what is that
Remainder-
project?
It is a youth project called Peace Yard, which is building dialogue in some of the toughest communities in Port-au-Prince, and particularly promoting dialogue between young people in the business community, so they can get internships, mentorship, and hopefully workforce development and job training opportunities out of it.
That's so wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for being here, and again, I appreciate the work that you're doing. And as I said at the first panel, if we get this working group together, I think we'll be back in touch with you to talk about ways we can not only highlight some of your projects, but I think again, if congressional codels go there, they ought to make sure that they, in addition to meeting the embassy and the government, that they actually go and see some of these projects that have had such success. So
Great. That was going to be my offer to you all in terms of what Congress could do.
you're now on our Rolodex.
When you visit, we have some fantastic grantees who'd be honored.
No,
meet you.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again. Thank you so much. And our final panel is Loon Viu, who is the executive director of Zanami Lasant, which provides healthcare and supportive programming throughout Central Haiti. She's testified before this commission in 2014, and it's a pleasure to have you back. And the floor is yours. Just make sure your microphone is on. That's all. Good. Thank you for being here.
On behalf of Zamila Santé, I would like to thank you, co-chairman, and distinguished members of the Lantos Human Rights Commission for this invitation. I'm honored to be here to address this commission and to provide an update on our progress since I last presented testimony in December 2014. Zamila Santé is Haitian Creole for Partners in Health, which began working in Haiti in 1987. Since then, PIH has expanded to 9 additional countries around the world with a team of 18,000, 98% of which are nationals of the countries we work. In January, we reflected on the 10 years since the earthquake. The people who have come to us these past 10 years at our health facilities have continued to inspire us to strive for the best possible outcomes for all Haitians. We do this with our work in healthcare, which in Haiti and around the world includes medical education, cancer care, clean water, sanitation, research, maternal health, and so much more. All 6,300 staff members for Zamila Santé in Haiti do whatever it takes for our patients. When I last presented testimony in 2014, cholera was devastating Haiti. Over the last 5 years, Zamila Santé has kept all of its cholera treatment centers open. Today, we continue to work with the Haitian Ministry of Health and Ministry of Public Works on the 10-year national plan for the elimination in Haiti, now in its final long-term stage. Together, we have seen gains in reducing the spread of cholera with constant surveillance and monitoring. We can share here with you, there has not been a confirmed case of cholera in Haiti since February 2019. While this is a great accomplishment, close to 40% of communities in Haiti remain without access to water, and over 80% do not have home sanitation. We lag behind significantly in these goals. We must all work together to ensure cholera does not return to Haiti by increasing access to safe water sources and improved home sanitation. In the 1990s, we began our battle with HIV/AIDS. At that time, HIV/AIDS prevalence about 8%. During that time, we used a directly observed treatment model for HIV/AIDS that was also successful in our TB care programs. Using this care package led to successful outcomes and showed the world that it was feasible to treat HIV/AIDS with antiretroviral drugs in resource-poor settings. Today, the HIV/AIDS prevalence in Haiti is 2%. With the support of PEPFAR, HIV/AIDS partners, and the Global Fund for TB, Malaria, and AIDS, we have reached unimaginable successes. Presently, Zamila Santé provides life-saving, lifelong treatment to 14,000 active patients in HIV care within our network. In January, we had wonderful news about our flagship hospital in Haiti. The international arm of the US-based Accreditation Council for Graduate Medical Education notified us that we had earned accreditation for University Hospital as a teaching hospital after a multi-year process of building our residency programs to meet international standards. Our 300-bed hospital in Mirebalais, located in rural central Haiti, joins internationally accredited facilities in just 7 other countries. Ours is the first facility in the Western Hemisphere and the first in a low-income country to receive this level of distinction. 123 residents have graduated from the hospital's programs, and 98% of those trained have remained in Haiti. We currently have 116 residents enrolled, ensuring the next generation of Haitian clinicians is secure. Maternal health is also one of our key areas of focus. Since 2015, 83,000 women have come to our facilities to give birth. In a country with the highest maternal mortality rate in the Western Hemisphere, we must do everything we can to provide safe environments for women and their babies to not only survive, but also to blossom. Because of our dedication to saving mothers and babies, a woman named Manushka and her children are alive today. When she came to us in the fall of 2014, we quickly realized she was not only pregnant with triplets, but that 2 were conjoined. We moved Manushka and her family to Mirebalais, where she spent almost 2 months under constant medical care. Tamar was born first, and then the conjoined twins, Michelle and Marianne. For the next 6 months, we cared for the twins and family while we organized an international team of experts. Skeptical Zamila Santé said the babies will need to leave Haiti in order to survive. But on May 22, 2015, Michelle and Marianne were successfully separated at University Hospital of Mirebalais. And today, live happy and healthy lives with their family. Our patients are highly vulnerable due to the extreme levels of poverty within which they live. But with Zamila Santé, they never have to worry about how they will pay for services. They will not lose their land, animals, or homes. Our services are accessible for all, and as such, we are at the mercy of the individuals, foundations, and partners who support us. None of our efforts would be possible if not for the support of many, including the U.S. Agency for International Development and the Centers for Disease Control. While we do struggle to fuel generators or transport our teams to health facilities during national moments of crisis, we are able to continue to operate even in the worst times. This is because everyone, even gang members, know we will do whatever it takes to help anyone. We do not judge, we do not exclude. As we enter this new decade, I ask you, members of Congress, to please continue to support programs that help local groups and increase their capacity to have a positive impact. Please continue to strive for human rights-based approaches to reconstruction and development. For over 30 years in Haiti and everywhere that we work, our patients, communities, and ministerial counterparts guide us on how we go as an organization and how we strive to promote our programs. Please continue to fund programs that take a holistic approach to social and economic development. We are grateful for the long-term commitment of the US government in Haiti. A better Haiti begins with Haitians. Together, we can build a Haiti where access to healthcare, education, markets, and democratic elections are given, and people will be happy to remain in their country. And as I ask you this, I think of the children and young adults for which I am the legal guardian at the Zami Beni Children's Home. After the 2010 earthquake, 38 children with disabilities abandoned at the General Hospital in Port-au-Prince had no place to live after their unit collapsed. On that fateful day of January 12, 2010, I made a lifelong commitment to these children. Zami Beni is home to 65 children today, and these children are growing into amazing young adults. Tomorrow, they will be the next generation of nurses, doctors, teachers, political leaders, soccer stars, and proud Haitians. Together, we can make this a reality. Please join us on this journey to ensure it is a bright future for them and for all Haitians. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. And you know, as I said to Ms. Paloma Adams, Allen, and I'll say this to you, I mean, this is a good story. This is something very positive, something that, you know, is very, very hopeful. And I want to thank you for your incredible work and all that you do. You know, you mentioned that you testified before this commission in December of 2014. We're now in 2020. You know, what are the biggest changes that you've seen in Haiti since then, and the good changes and the bad changes, and how have they affected your work?
I'll start with a good change, since we want to stay optimistic. Cholera. We don't have, like I mentioned, we don't have, the last case was in February 2019. Although we still have a long way to go to make sure that people get access to potable water and home sanitation. But this is a very good thing that we don't have cholera. And then we're still working on the plan for elimination in the cholera in Haiti. You want to bad?
Yeah.
The matter that we're facing right now is the COVID-19.
Coronavirus.
That
Yes.
we call COVID-19. Although it's not in Haiti yet, but it's next door, Dominican Republic. So my team is working, the Ministry of Health and partners, to on a plan to be prepared for that. But it's very concerning.
I mean, do you have testing kits, or do you? I mean, is the government working with you to make sure that you and healthcare providers and hospitals and clinics have what it takes to be able to diagnose what it is? And
Yes, in Haiti we're able to test. We have the testing kit, and we're working on the we call it the 4 S's, like stuff, which is supplies, and space to prepare for this.
You know, we've heard reports of growing insecurity in Haiti, including reports that armed gangs control roads in rural areas. How does the security situation affect your work on the ground, and what kind of measures do you take to manage insecurity?
In one of our sites, we call it site with the Minister of Health in the Artibonite in Petite Rivière La Tibonite. There's a large gang member there. So what we did is to keep the staff there and avoid being on the street, on the road, but also as I mentioned in the testimony, we kind of they trust us that
Right.
we're there to help them. We don't judge. We're there to serve the community.
So your work hasn't been interfered with or interrupted by?
No, I mean, we have to say that, I mean, because we kept like getting fuel or
Right.
food, and it is interrupted, but we stay open. We find a way to stay open, the clinics.
Yeah, and let me just say, let me ask you one final question. I'll turn it over to my colleague here. You know, what's the most important thing that you believe Congress should do to help address the complexities of and the crises in Haiti?
Health crisis, health. If I stay in health, I think we should continue to help with the organization to look at holistic approach
Right.
on health. And for the political side,
Right.
I'm not.
You don't want to
able
get, yeah,
to
right, yeah, but the deal is that, you know, a holistic approach, you know, to healthcare requires, you know, a government help, ultimately, if you're going to provide it for the entire country. But let me just say, I mean, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Levin right now, and I'm going to have to excuse myself, but you're in charge. But I want to fill them in on kind of
Okay.
what has gone on here. You know, we've had a lot of discussions about a lot of things. You know, the good, the bad, and the ugly about what's happening in Haiti. And right now, this is about some of the good things that are going on in the area of healthcare. But you know, one of the challenges we have here is that in Congress is that we talk about all, you know, the many challenges, but we really don't have effective responses to them. We're not, you know, we talk about the need to deal with corruption, but what are we doing specifically to help address the issue of corruption? We talk about the level of violence and, you know, and the lack of governance, and what are we doing to help move Haiti in a direction where they resolve some of these issues? And you know, and we have, you know, we deal with 1,000 different issues, and sometimes, you know, we tend to stray off topic. And so one of the things that we talked about here today was maybe we should, you know, get a working group together of anybody who's interested in the issue of Haiti. You know, people on the Foreign Affairs Committee, people on other committees, whoever, you know, that would meet regularly and talk about, you know, not only the challenges, but some of the good things that are happening, to give voice to, you know, the great work that's going on, you know, with Ziamani Lasant, and we rightfully be supportive of these efforts, but also using that working group maybe to convene non-political actors in Haiti who can help build consensus in Haiti as to how we move out of this crisis. And we also talked about, you know, focusing on some of the especially bad players in Haiti. We have this thing called the Global Magnitsky Act. You know, they should be on that list. You know, people who are guilty of corruption and human rights violations ought not to be able to travel here and ought not to be able to hide their money in U.S. banks. So, in any event, I hope Mr. Levin is a great interest in this and was at the hearing that they had in December. We talked about that as well. So he knows a lot more than I do. So he will take charge of this hearing, and we will follow up on some of the things we talked about earlier. So.
Thank you very much, Chairman McGovern, and I want to thank you and your co-chairman, Mr. Smith from New Jersey, for your incredible work on the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission in general, and for convening this hearing. I'm very, very sorry to have missed any minute of this hearing, and we missed a lot because of other, as you mentioned, things happening all the time. The Vice President and you know, came to talk to us about COVID-19 and brought some of his staff, and you know, some of us felt duty bound to be there. But I'm very glad to see you.
Did you learn anything? We can
Yes.
talk later.
We'll talk about that later. Yes, it was a good discussion. It's certainly, dealing with a possible pandemic is the definition of something that should not be a partisan matter. So it was good to work together on it. So picking up on just the healthcare angle and your great work, I've been, following Zami La Santé since it was founded, and I remember even before it existed, some of us are old enough to remember with the very beginnings of the AIDS epidemic in the United States, and people wanted to blame Haiti for it, and Paul Farmer was, I think, the first voice who came out and talked about the racism and the sort of jingoism inherent in that idea, which was completely erroneous. But let's talk about what you're doing. So you mentioned you have a facility in the Artibonite Valley, right? Where do you have facilities in Haiti today?
Okay, but thank you. I'm going to see Paul tomorrow, Paul Farmer tomorrow, so I'll make sure that.
Oh, merci un peu.
Yeah. Did you say merci un peu? Merci un peu too? So we work with the Ministry of Health, public facilities, and we work in 13 sites. We call them sites. From I don't know if I can name them, all of them, but from Belladere, the Central Plateau, Mirebalais, along the border in Central Plateau, and the Artibonite, and 3 places in the Artibonite, which is Petite Rivière d'Artibonite, Saint-Marc, and Verret.
Okay, so you mentioned how, and this is before Representative Jackson Lee was here, but just to fill you in, she was mentioning about how, frankly, because of their almost being, it's quite hard to explain the role that you play, but even the gangs let them pass through somehow. But do you actually are there actually checkpoints along the way? If I was to go, as I've done in the past, and drive to the Plateau Central on the roads, would I face checkpoints of gangs possibly, or of chef section or whatever, something?
But there's some police, you'll get checkpoint police, and the gang at night, and it's I cannot tell you when, because they're there.
Irregular, yeah.
Yeah, irregular.
But it's possible that would happen.
Yes.
And would the person who faced that, possibly their personal security would be at risk?
Yes, which is
Kidnapping, and would they possibly be expected to pay a bribe to be allowed to go through?
Ransom, and in some cases rape for women. Yeah.
And how, among your facilities that you mentioned in the Artibonite and the Plateau Central, how would this be? All of them could happen anywhere, driving from one to the other, or from Port-au-Prince to one of them? Could it happen in any of those places, or is it just a few places?
Just a few places, I would say. Yeah.
And those are where?
In Artibonite, like Petite Rivière d'Artibonite and Verret. It's been for the past year now, 2019. There's been reports of violence, and some of our staff were victims of that. And one of our vehicles was taken by the gang members on the road, and then later that we were able to get it back. But yeah.
So if someone is victimized, have there been cases where you or the victimized person have achieved justice, where the people who did it are arrested, prosecuted, put in jail?
There are some cases.
Were they actually?
Yeah, but not a lot, I would say.
Not a lot. So mostly, if something like that happens with gang violence and on a road somewhere or something, it's not likely that the person will be prosecuted?
It's unlikely to find a person.
Yeah.
It's unlikely.
Right. Okay, so
There are a lot of reports out there by the human rights, the human rights organizations.
so you're working under super difficult conditions.
That's correct. Yeah.
And you're still providing outstanding health care to people.
We try. And we stay open, like I said, because some of the communities where we work, we're the only one who can help them. They come to us, they trust us, and so
Yeah.
we stay open.
Are schools open in general throughout the country right now?
Yes, correct.
Schools are open, so kids are in school, because I heard for a while that schools were not open.
Yes, back in last year in September to December was like 17 weeks, because I have my kids, 17 weeks, they couldn't go to school.
And when you say my kids, are you talking about all those kids you just talked about?
65, yes.
Those are
65 of them.
your kids.
I'm their legal guardian. They
Wow.
call me mom, so yes,
And you know all their names?
yes.
Dang, I mess up my 4 kids' names.
I can tell you all their names, but
No, but yes. It's so incredible. So, and what happened that school reopened? Why was it closed, and then why did it open?
protests in the streets, there was violence in the street, and you couldn't get the kids to school, basically.
And then, but since the beginning of January, you say, things have gotten better?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right, well, I'm mindful that they're going to call votes soon, and I'm also mindful that my iconic person to my left is much more senior member of Congress than me, so I would like to turn the floor over to Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas to see if she has any questions for you.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to be a member of this panel, the Tom Lantos panel, for more than a decade and more time than I can remember, and delighted to have worked with McGovern, but also Tom Lantos, and I'm especially delighted, Andy, for your work that has such a broad reach. My knowledge of Haiti is deep and abiding, and it comes with personal visits to most of the presidents over the last 20 years, to the extent of visiting individuals incarcerated in Haitian jails, walking through the camps after the earthquake, shortly thereafter with members of Congress, and really trying to sit down with the heads of state and finding some brief light of ending corruption and moving toward democracy. I am certainly here to tout and applaud the NGOs that have done stupendous work in Haiti, and I count yours as one of them. And I would appreciate you sort of expanding your horizon for a question that I have, and I was not able to be here for the earlier panelists. But what I will say is that my questions, it really impacts your work and how you can treat the 65 children. I think I saw the number 6,000 that you are serving, if I have the number right.
65
It's but recently, you currently lead a 6,000 plus team in providing health care and supportive programming. That's very important. And you're going throughout the layered areas of Haiti. You're not just staying in Port-au-Prince, I take it. Are you beyond those boundaries? Is that correct?
Correct. So actually, we don't work in Port-au-Prince. We're more in the Central Plateau
Yes.
and Lower Artibonite.
Challenging areas.
Yes.
Yes. So let me try to find out what can we do. You know, I've been in this for so long, and you are certainly proving that you can work regardless. But is there something specific that we can do for the lack of progress in improving governance issues in Haiti that generate, even if it's not called democracy, but governance issues? Is there something we in the United States can do better?
I think if you can continue to support holistic approach to human, some like I mentioned in my some policies about social and economic development,
Mhm.
Young girls, education,
I'm sorry,
young girls,
with girls?
girls, education, women. I think that that will lead us a long way to development to reach our and like I said, to build access to healthcare, education, democratic elections, so that people can stay in the country. They don't have to leave Haiti. I know that young kids, adults, they want to stay. They want to, if they have opportunity, they will stay in Haiti.
They just want a stable government so that they can achieve their greatest success.
Correct.
I would take it.
Jobs,
Jobs.
education, where they can stay.
So I know that I'm pressing you in areas that you might not have spoken of, but I know that you have sort of a worldview of Haiti. How do we press forward on stopping volatile elections? Haiti is a country that is well loved by so many of us here in the United States. We know of its heroic history, but it seems like it's one volatile election after another. What should we be doing in that instance? Even though I think the social justice issues, educating girls is premier and important, do a lot of work in that, but it seems that these elections come time after time, and the present president is seemingly working to the contrary of the justice system. But if I just focus on the elections, what should we do here in the United States?
I really don't have a view on that.
Okay. I can appreciate that.
Thank you.
The food aid is, the United States is providing assistance to build food production capacity to help Haitian farmers recover from prolonged drought and a major hurricane. Is that valuable to Haiti, and is it working, providing, helping Haitian farmers recover from prolonged drought and major hurricane? Do you see evidence of that program?
I can see some, but we'll need to, the level of poverty is so deep and so much, and I can see, I will encourage to have more of that, to help the farmers and work on agriculture, and the inflation is 20%, like it's 90, I left Haiti yesterday, was like 96 good for $1, so very, yeah.
Say that again about the dollars. You said
96 good, you need 96 good for one.
or for $1, yes. And let me ask about the coronavirus, because you said it's in the Dominican Republic.
Correct. Sunday, they have the Dominican Minister of Health said that they have one positive case in the DR,
And
which is very close to
Yes.
us. And,
And your border is very porous between,
that's correct.
yes. And so this is something that we should be attentive to and try to be as helpful as possible. One of the things we know happens is that hospitals can be oversaturated. In your instance, there may not be a hospital capacity if this was to spread in Haiti, correct?
That's correct. And our team is working with the Ministry of Health to prepare a plan, to be part of the plan, to make sure they have staff trained for that, and the space, because the system is already weak. So we need to have to prepare for new space for this. We're talking about quarantine and isolation for the people. So, and working on education, washing hands and soap, and the schools, and it's really, we're praying that it doesn't come to us, but it's near there.
It's near all of us. Let me just say that we have had working groups in the past. I think the idea of reigniting a working group would be very important. We realistically know that you need to give real tools such as the support for social services, helping girls be educated. But we also know that it is important for some structure to stand up that's going to promote human rights and a commitment to some form of fairness in government, because we in the United States always use the word democracy. And I would say to you that we're always working to perfect our democracy. So we don't say it and try to be superior. Democracy is something that is fragile and that we have to work on every single day. But it is important to have that focus. And so I would just indicate two things. The stand-up, the task force with expertise that was in this room and others, I think would be helpful. Take back from me the constant refrain that we've said over and over again, a government without corruption, and there are other witnesses in the room if they have not left, a government without corruption and a protection of human rights is just imperative. The many times that I've been to Haiti, the many conflicts and controversies that I've gone through with Haiti, I'm still reminded of the great people of Haiti. And I'm still reminded America's great debt we owe to Haitians who stood alongside of Americans in the Revolutionary War. I mean, that's a history that we should never forget. That's why we have this very special relationship. But I want to see in my lifetime 5 years of stability, 10 years of stability, that is so crucial. Finally, Mr. Colleague, the coronavirus is something that I think both of us, or all of us, should bring to the attention. You're a very close neighbor. We were obviously gearing up as we were both in this meeting with the Vice President. When I say gearing up and gearing on, but in doing so, we need to be very cognizant of our neighbors. And I hope that we will both make this point well known because, as you indicated, your infrastructure really would need to have international support. And we see you there, and I know there are other NGOs, and I want to commit myself to getting that in front of our foreign ops and others to be able to help you. But let me thank you for the great work that you've done. I could have many more questions, but you have done stupendous work. You're still doing it, and we want to be as helpful as possible. Thank you so very much. I yield back.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Jackson Lee. Let me just, you can hear the little sounds of the votes being called, but let me just take a couple more minutes to explore the question or the point you raised about education for girls and young girls. Tell us and, really the American people through this commission, is education free in Haiti? Is there free, so in America, generally, whatever neighborhood you live in, you could walk or take a bus to a school that doesn't cost anything.
Unfortunately, it's not free.
And so,
For everything.
what do you have to pay for to go to school in Haiti?
I can tell you, for my 65 kids,
Yes.
we have.
And are they living in the Artibonite, or are these kids in Port-au-Prince?
They are in Port-au-Prince.
Okay.
In Croix-des-Bouquets,
Okay.
on the way to Central Plateau.
Yes.
We have 38 of them going to school because we have some disabled that they have to stay home, and we have
Homeschooling.
homeschooling. Yes. Excuse me.
You have enough at home to have a school in your home. But anyway, go ahead.
Yes. So we have to pay for there's a fee you have to pay to get
Tuition.
tuition,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to pay for books, for uniforms, for lunch, and we send the kids with their lunch boxes every day.
So what could you estimate for us in Croix-des-Bouquets or just any village in Haiti that if someone was trying to send their child to school, what would it cost about?
Okay.
Just a basic ballpark, that expression, a ballpark
Yeah,
figure,
yeah.
just roughly.
Roughly, you need $200 for
$200 US for 1 year.
1 year.
Okay, so that exceeds the income, the whole annual income of many, many
Correct.
people in Haiti. So that's completely out of reach.
And that's one of the reasons we have the literacy rate is so low.
Right. So how could you see a way forward to get to a different system of education in Haiti? Or a different, or do you see just keeping the same system and helping people have enough money to pay for it? Or should there be a different?
It's
Different
part of our constitution. Education is free in our constitution, so we need the government to invest more in education.
So the Constitution says that education will be free, but that's based on a system of public schools that doesn't exist. Is that sort of a way of saying it? Uh-huh.
And we have public schools.
You do?
Yeah, but you pay for uniforms, you pay for the books, you don't pay for the
But
teachers.
what does it mean that it's a public school if you pay? Isn't it run by a church or another organization?
Government,
It is run by the government.
the Ministry of Education.
Oh. So there are public schools.
Yes.
What percentage of the kids in Haiti would have practical, if they had the money? Are all Haitian kids, or, what percentage of Haitian kids live close enough to a public school to go to one if they could afford it?
I don't have,
Just roughly.
but,
Almost all of them, or just half of, what would you guess?
the kids,
Who are near, that there's a public school? Like in America, anywhere you live, there'd be a public school that you could go to.
kids have to walk far to go to a public school, to get to a school.
Like
But
miles
there's
sometimes.
not enough
Rural kids,
public schools.
yeah. Okay, so we have so far to go.
So far to go. And the teachers also, they'll go for months without getting paid.
Yes.
It's very, their salary is very, very low.
Mm.
And still, they not get paid. So that doesn't help.
When I was in Haiti, after the first time Aristide was overthrown, working for Human Rights Watch, I spent the summer of 1992, 1993. It was over. Summer of 92. He was overthrown in the fall of 91, right? So, we researched and wrote a book-length report. It was called Silencing a People, but it was about why the government was overthrown, or anyway, what happened afterwards. And one of the remarkable things I went around the country. I didn't spend much time in Port-au-Prince. I went in the provinces and interviewed people, people in hiding. And, yeah. And just like we say underground, sort of similar, right? Sort of in the dirt. I mean, anyway, so a lot of them had been people who formed little teachers' unions. All kind, there were literacy campaigners. There were people from neighborhood protection groups, all manner of groups that were the ones who were targeted by the coup regime that took over. But a lot of them, now that you mention that, so many of them were teachers, local teachers, just trying to form their own little organization, maybe to get enough money to get paid regularly or something. So that's still a problem.
Still a problem. And it's worse for girls. For different reasons also.
Worse in terms of access to education.
Access to education, and also the infrastructure, the way, let me just give you an example. They don't have washrooms for the girls so it's
In the school.
in the schools. So,
So they have one washroom and it's for boys,
so
maybe, something like that? Or they don't have any?
It's locked.
What?
More often it's locked.
It's not functioning.
And,
Yeah.
And then, and also the girls, especially in the rural area, they are the one going to get water because they don't have access to water. They have to go to the river and far away to get water. So they miss.
So the family
Yeah.
doesn't think about having the daughter go to school because it needs her to go get the water and so
Yeah,
forth,
that's
yes.
part of
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, I have to go vote, so I'm going to call close to this hearing. But I thank you so much for your work, and I want to thank all of the people from all the panels, the witnesses who came and testified before us. I'll just have to read your testimony as you submitted in writing, because I wasn't able to be here for that. But I really appreciate it. Like Congresswoman Jackson Lee, I just want to express my strongest commitment that the United States needs to, even if we've had a long time commitment to Haiti, we need to have a commitment to Haiti on another level and in a much maybe more humble and a way more of solidarity than of kind of noblesse oblige, and we'll tell you what to do, because you're living proof that people are on the ground in Haiti doing incredible work, and we need to work together to lift up the Haitian people so they can all have democracy, education, personal security, and health. So thank you so much, and with that, the hearing's closed.
Thank you for your commitment, and come back to visit us. And merci un pile.
De rien.